Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning.
40, doesn't Lee get wisdom at 40?
Yes.
You want to keep the top today?
No, this is 45.
Good morning. Today's daf is daf Pei Aleph, and we were on Pei Amud Beis. We're dealing with the Karban Toda. Karban Toda is unique, that it's a shlamim animal, basically, a little bit less time to eat it, that gets accompanied with 40 loaves, 4 of which are given to the Kohen, 36 are eaten by Yisrael. And we learned that we learned in the Mishnah that there are all sorts of Todas that don't get loaves, and that would be the child of a Toda, the swapped Toda, the Tmuras Toda, and the Khalife Toda, the Toda that gets lost and another one brought in its place, and then the original was found. So we are here at the 2 parentheses. So we can start a little bit earlier. Let's start a third of the way up on Pei Amud Beis. Tani Reb Chia taught Toda shenis arva b'tmurasa. Let's say there's a Karban Toda and someone tries to swap it with something else. He wants to say this other animal is the swap for the Toda animal. So now the Tmura doesn't need breads. Let's say the Tmura gets mixed up with the original. You don't know what's what. You don't know what's the original. You don't know what's the Tmura. And one of them dies. So now Chaverta, the one that's left, its friend, Ein la tzakana, there's no way to fix it. Heichinev, what do you propose we do? Nakriv lechem ba'ada, if we want to bring bread with it, Dilma tzmurahi, maybe it's the tzmura. Okay, that would make sense. But lo nakriv lechem ba'ada, right? If you want to bring the bread with it, maybe the one that's left is the tzmura, then it doesn't get bread. It's not supposed to have bread with it. Lo nakiv lechem ba'ada, don't bring bread with it. 1 second, but dilma todahi, but maybe it is the toda that it does need bread. So the Gemara said 1 second. Hey Chidan, what's the case? Either Amar Allah, if the person had said, I have a toda obligation on me, then he separated a toda, then he made a tzmura, then the two got mixed up. So lo sagya de lo ma'isila behemachrina velechem. So he has a vow, so he has to fulfill his vow. He'd have to bring another animal as the Toda with bread. He should be saying, if the one that's left is the Tmura, so it itself is brought, but it doesn't get bread, fine. So then Toda, this animal has to be the Toda. This is the bread of this Toda. And if the animal that was left is the Toda, the bread I'm bringing is going to be the bread with it. And this one will have to be sort of the replacement. I brought it just to be sure. So the Gemara answers, okay, you're right. Cases where he didn't say Hare Allah, he said this animal is the Toda. He made this one responsible. There's no responsibility on him. So therefore now that it got missing and we're not sure what's what, so therefore there's nothing to do. So now the Gemara is going to ask questions. Why do you keep saying there's nothing to do? And the way to remember these questions is Siman, Limudim, Midas, Ola, etc. After the parentheses. Amru lemeidin lifnei Rebbe. The one studying said before Rebbe. That's a reference to Levi. Levi was a student of Rebbe. So Levi said before Rebbe, why do you say that if a person made a tzmura, made a swap for the Toda, and then the swapped animal, which is supposed to just be slaughtered without bread, and the Toda, which is supposed to be slaughtered with bread, got mixed up, and one of them died, we don't know which one. Why do we say now we're stuck? So the Maiden said before Rebbe, here's a proposal of what you can do. V'lei silech, and bring bread. V'leiman say like this. If the one that's left is the original Toda, halachma, this is its bread. Ilo, and if it's not the original Toda, if it's the Tzmura and it's not supposed to have bread, so this bread, this bread shouldn't be holy. This bread is just a gift to the Kohen. It's just secular stuff. It wasn't made holy. Amaluhu, so Rebbe said back to Levi, what sort of a proposal is this? Are you allowed to bring things that aren't holy into the Beis HaMikdash? How could you say we take bread and we say if the bread is supposed to be bread of the Toda, it is, and otherwise it's not bread of Toda, it's just chulin. But if it's chulin, it just belongs to the Beis HaMikdash. So the Gemara says, V'leisi behema v'lechem. Why doesn't he bring an animal and bread? V'leiman say like this: Iach tekaima tmurahi. Okay, if the one that's left that from the original mixture is the tmura one, hatoda, this animal is the toda. V'halachma, and this bread that I'm bringing, that's the bread of the toda. Iach tekaima, and if this that's left was the toda, halachma, this bread that I'm bringing, that's the bread for the original toda. Vahan, this animal to have shlamim, let it just be a shlamim. I'll treat it like a shlamim, it'll just be a shlamim. So Rabbi said there's a difference. A shlamim is eaten for 2 days and 1 night. A toda is eaten for a day and a night. So if you're bringing something and saying it's a suffix, it's a maybe toda, maybe a shlamim. So then, if it really is a shlamim, and you're going to only eat it now for a day and a night, because you have to treat it that maybe it's a toda, so you are using a shlamim, and saying the amount of time for the shlamim is less than the amount of time that it really should have, and that's not right. You're not going to take a shlamim and artificially reduce the amount of time you have to eat it, because then someone may not eat it. He'll say, okay, I can't now, it's too late, I didn't get it all done, and then you're going to be taking what is a shlamim and burning it when you shouldn't be burning it. So Amar Levi LeRebbi, so Levi followed up to Rebbe with yet another proposal. Why do we say that we have nothing to do if one of the animals died? We don't know which. And now we're stuck. Let the person bring a new animal with bread. Layman say like this: if the animal left is the tzmura animal, hatoda v'halachma. So then, fine. This animal is the toda, and this animal's getting this bread. But if the animal that was left was the toda, halachna, so then this bread that I'm bringing is the bread for this toda. Heavy, moser de toda. Let the second one be brought as the leftovers of a toda, and the leftovers of a toda can be brought without bread. Amalei, so Rabbi said, I think this guy doesn't have a brain in his head. You know, what a proposal that he's saying. When we have something called leftover of a toda, it means you started off with a toda, you had leftovers. You can't take an animal and from the very beginning say, okay, this is going to be considered leftovers of a toda. You can't start from the beginning and say it's going to be leftovers. This doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, so we have this problem again. The Mishnah told us that there are all sorts of animals that have the holiness of toda. They are to be slaughtered as a toda, but they do not have breads. The child of a toda, the attempt to swap something with a toda, the exchange of a toda. So Reb Chia taught us a lesson in a brisa that if someone had a toda, then he swapped another animal for the toda, and they got mixed up. So he has one animal that needs bread, one animal that doesn't need bread, and one of the animals dies. He doesn't know which one. So now he's stuck. There's nothing he can do. So the Gemara is going to keep having proposals. Why is there nothing he can do? Why doesn't he try this? Why doesn't he try that? So now Yosef Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marta kamed Rav Nachman. Rav Yitzchak, the son of Shmuel, the son of Marta, sat in front of Rav Nachman. Yosef Ka'amar. So he said over this lesson of Rav Chia, and then he sat and he said, he has a proposal. Why doesn't he bring behema, bring another animal, v'lechem, with bread? Okay, v'lechem, let him say like this. Yachtekayim, of the animal that's still alive, tzmurahi was the tzmura animal that's supposed to be slaughtered but not supposed to have bread. So then hatoda v'lachma. So this animal is a toda, and this bread with it is the bread for it. However, yachtekayim todahi, if the animal that was still alive is the toda, halachma, the bread that I'm bringing is the bread for that toda. And this animal, to heavy tzmura. Let this animal be a swap. This animal is a swap for the toda. This is the replacement for the toda. So then the tzmura, the swapped animal gets slaughtered, but it doesn't get bread. So then you're fine. You have an animal that should be slaughtered as a toda, treated as a toda, eaten for a day and a night, and it doesn't have bread. So Amalei, Rav Nachman said, what a ridiculous proposal. Ani Mari, my teacher should answer me. Armayim bekatve v'kasher. You're going to tell somebody, go get 40 lashes, and this is the right thing. You're going to go tell someone, do a sin. There's a sin to do tzmura. You're not allowed to do tzmura. Lo yamirenu, the Torah says you're not allowed to swap a carbon for another animal. So what's going on here? So he got into trouble once. Now he has a problem how he gets out of this trouble. So you say, okay, get into more trouble? Tell somebody to go do tzmura. All right, so what's another proposal? Rav Ilo chalash. Rav Ilo got sick. Allah got Abaye v'Rabbanan. The rabbis and Abaye went in to visit him. They were sitting and they were saying, Im Isa l'Rabbi Yochanan, if Rabbi Yochanan's right, Amar who said that in terms of the Toda, when the animal is slaughtered, Chutz l'chom azara kadosh, bread that's outside of the wall of the azara also becomes holy by the Toda. So why don't you have a proposal? Laisi lechem, bring bread. What did we say before? The problem with bringing bread and saying, well, it's going to be bread of a Toda. If this is a Toda, but if it's not a Toda, it's nothing. It's just a gift to the Kohen. It's because you can't bring chulin into the Beis Hamikdash. So don't bring it into the Beis Hamikdash. Laisi lechem, bring bread. And leave it outside of the wall of the Azara. V'leiman say like this: if the animal that was left from the two when one died, if that animal is the Toda, halachma, this is the bread for that Toda. And if it's not a Toda, it's just the Tmura, so then this bread never was made holy. And now give it to the Kohen outside of the Beis Hamikdash, and you never brought it into the Beis Hamikdash. So Gemara says that's not a possibility. Mishum di'ika arba lahanif. 4 of the loaves, of the 40 loaves that go to the Kohen, are actually supposed to be waved in the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore you don't have a solution. Hey Chilevid, what are you proposing? Linfinu abaroi, give it to the Kohen and let him wave them out of the Beis Hamikdash. Lifnei Hashem ksiv, the verse says it has to be waved before God. Gavoy, bring it into the Beis Hamikdash. So now you're back to the original problem. Kamayel chulun la'azara. So on the chance that it's not holy, you're bringing something not holy into the Beis Hamikdash, which we're not allowed to do. So again, we don't have a solution. So maybe another solution. Maskefla Rav Shisha B'rei Ravidi. Rav Shisha, the son of Ravidi, said, Im Isa l'dechizkiya. 1 second. Maybe we can have a solution based on the idea of what Chizkiya said earlier. So if Chizkiya is right, to Amar who said that if a person slaughters a Toda with 80 loaves, Kachvar Boy Mitoch Shmonim, 40 out of the 80 loaves become holy. So here's your solution. Laisi behema. So now bring a second animal. V'laisi shmonim b'hadam. Bring 80 loaves with the second animal. V'lema, now make the condition like this. Say this way. Yach to kaima toda, if the animal that's left is the toda, hanami, and it needs bread. Hanami tevi toda. This second animal is also going to be a toda. And then v'hashmonim the tarvaya. These 80 loaves are working for both of them. 40 for the second animal and 40 for the original animal. And if the animal that was left is the Tmura animal, the animal that was swapped for the Toda and it doesn't need bread, so then Ha-Toda, this second animal is a Toda. For Ha-Lachman, out of these 80 loaves, only 40 became holy. And let 40 out of the 80 become holy. So Gemara says, no, it's not such a solution. Because when you're bringing 80 loaves, and you're saying, maybe all 80 are holy, and if they're not all 80 holy, then 40 out of the 80 are holy. So now, because there's a chance that maybe all 80 are holy, so then you have to give 8 loaves to the Kohen. If only 40 of the 80 are holy, only give 4 loaves to the Kohen. So now you don't know what to do. So you may not have enough Kohanim for 8 loaves. So you're going to end up you're not going to have enough Kohanim for 8 loaves. So you're going to end up separating 8 loaves, and you may not have enough Kohanim for so many loaves, and really, 4 loaves are holy, and maybe because you don't have enough, maybe the 4 loaves that are really holy are not going to get eaten in as quick a time as they should be eaten, and you're going to end up with nosar. Things which are holy are not going to be eaten the way they should, and you're going to end up with nosar and having to burn things.
Isn't this Cholin Lazar? It's the same thing. How are you bringing it? Are you bringing the whole 80 in?
I guess I could have asked the second question too. That's a very good point. I think that's very true. So now another proposed answer. Amalei Rav Ashi, Rav Kahana. Rav Ashi said to Rav Kahana, Im Yisrael Rav Yochanan. If Rav Yochanan is right, the Amar who said, if a person sets aside a pregnant animal as a chatas, and then she gives birth, so according to Rav Yochanan, Ratza b'miskaper, either the mother can be used as the chatas to gain atonement, Ratza b'vlada miskaper, if he wants, then the child of the mother can be used to garner the atonement. Because apparently, according to Rav Yochanan, when a person dedicates a pregnant animal as a karban chatas, we say that that's really two dedications. That's a dedication of the mother, and that's a dedication of the child. So either one can be brought. So if that's true about chatas, maybe that'll be your answer here for the case of toda. Laisi behim muberes. Let our man bring a pregnant animal and say, this animal is a toda. Then before he offers it, he waits. Then it gives birth. So now he has two todos. Now now bring 80 loaves. The layman say like this. If the animal that's left in the two animals where one died was the tzmura, it doesn't need loaves. Havlada todahi. This animal, though, that I'm separating now is two todos. There's the mother and there's the child. So these 80 loaves are for both, are for the two of them. One for the mother, one set of 40 for the mother, one set of 40 for the child. Tetarvayu, because both of them need loaves. And if the animal that's left was really the toda, so it needs its own 40 loaves. So in other words, then hanami todahi. So then the mother is the toda. And the mother that I'm bringing now also needs 40 loaves. That's the 80 loaves. And now this child, lehevi mosa de toda. That would be what we mentioned earlier, the leftover of a toda. It doesn't have bread. The child of a toda, we said in the Mishnah, doesn't get bread. And we had mentioned this proposal earlier. There we said you can't do that because ein mafrish and tchila lemos saros. You can't separate initially for something to be the leftovers. But here it's different, because here the mother wasn't separated to be the leftovers. The mother was separated to be good, and the child inside of her became the leftovers. So Amar Le, so Rav Kahana answered to Rav Ashi, Man Le Malan, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Who's to say that Rabbi Yochanan holds that in Shiru, that if they took a pregnant mother and they tried to make two sacrifices out of it. The mother is being, let's say, a chatas, and the baby inside is an ola, meshuya, that you could do such a thing. Who says that you could separate up the animal, and therefore you could say also that the mother might be the toda, the child could be maybe the toda, maybe just leftovers of a toda. Who says that that's the case? Maybe according to Rabbi Yochanan with the chatas in shiru eino meshuyar, you can't make the mother one karban and the child another karban. Why did Rabbi Yochanan say that if you separate a pregnant mother, then either the mother or the child could be the chatas? How did time Rabbi Yochanan? The reason Rabbi Yochanan is the Amar he holds elsewhere. Adam miskaper b'shvach hekdesh. That the same way a person can gain atonement with the animal that's holy, he also can gain atonement with what the animal improves into. In other words, with the child of the animal that was holy. So maybe what that means is he made an animal, a pregnant animal, let's say, holy as a chatas, so that mother certainly could be a chatas. Now when that mother has a child after she was holy, so that child's considered part of the mother, so it's also a chatas. So therefore, it's always going to be a continuation of the mother. So if it's a continuation of the mother, so then in our case of toda, if he makes the pregnant animal a toda, so then the child has to be a toda. It can't be that the child maybe is a toda, maybe it's mosar toda. The child is always going to be mosar toda. It's always going to be an extension of the mother, just the child of the mother. So therefore, there's no option here of solving our problem.
Rabbi, which korbanot was it that is male animal they have to bring it?
Asham.
Hashem is the male animal.
Yeah,
no
but
female.
a toda can be any animal. Can be a cow, could be a sheep, could be a goat. Any of the animals can be brought as a
Now,
toda.
what happened with those poor people that they could not afford an animal? They bring a flower. Are they the same rules and
No,
regulations?
that's only in a case of a certain sin. Certain sins, poor people
For toda
have the
itself, they
option,
cannot
but
do
for
it? No.
toda they would have to
To
collect
bring
money.
an animal, right?
Yeah, they need to go collect charity to bring an animal.
Okay.
Okay, another possible answer for our problem. Ravina ikla d'mahoraya. Ravina came to d'mahoraya. Amalei Rav Dimi, Bered Rav Huna mi d'mahoraya Ravina. Rav Dimi, the son of Rav Huna from d'mahoraya, said to Ravina, here's another proposal. V'laisi behema, bring an animal. V'leiman, say like this. Harei alai toda. On me, there's an obligation of a toda. And now, besides the second animal, now bring a third animal. And bring 80 loaves with the third animal. Now make another condition. Say like this. If the animal that's still alive, the surviving animal is the tmura animal, which is supposed to be slaughtered but not supposed to have bread. Anitarti todos. These two animals that I brought are todos. And one gets 40 loaves, and the other one gets 40 loaves. These 80 loaves are for the two of them. And if the one that's surviving is really the toda, and it really does need bread. Now, this animal, to army that I said about it, I have an obligation of a toda, and I separated it from my vow. Nami lehevi toda, let it also be a toda. And these 80 loaves are going to be for the first and for the third. These are the 80 loaves. And that middle animal that I brought, let it just be a toda that's backing up the first toda, and it doesn't need bread. It's, if I bring an animal as a replacement of another toda, as we said in the Mishnah, it doesn't need bread. So let the second animal be just the replacement of the third animal. It's just a backup. Amalei, Ravina said to Rav Dimi, the Torah says, Tova shelo tidor, mishitidor velo tishalem. It's always better not to make vows. Because if you're in the habit of making vows, you make vows and not fulfill them. So therefore, we don't want a person to go make a vow, to add on himself a new vow. And you're saying he should get up and make a vow as a first choice, as an ideal. We don't want him to make vows. Therefore, again, it's not a solution. So again, the bottom line is, after the Gemara goes through all of these things, is that we're left with the same rule that we had in the Brisa beginning this morning's learning. Rabbi said, if you have a karban, if you dedicated an animal and said, this animal is a toda zu. You didn't say a vow on me to bring a toda. You said, this animal is a toda. And then you did an Aveira. You said this other animals, the Tmuras Todas, the swapped for this Toda. And the two animals got mixed up. One is supposed to be brought with bread, one is supposed to be brought without bread, because Tmuras Toda is not supposed to have bread. And then one dies, you don't know which died. So now you're stuck. What are you going to do? You're going to say, we'll bring bread because maybe this animal needs bread. 1 second, but maybe this animal is the Tmura. And if it's a Tmura, it's not supposed to have bread. And to bring bread would be to be bringing chulin into the Azara, and therefore we are stuck with this situation. We don't have what to do. We'll just have to let the animal go to death. We can't do anything. Okay, up to the next Mishnah. Ha'omer harei olai toda. Person who says, on me is incumbent an obligation of bringing a toda. So that's a neder. He has achrayus. So he has to bring a toda and he has to bring bread. Yavihi v'lachma min achulin. So now we have a rule. There's a rule in many places. It was discussed in Masechet Chagiga as well. And that is, ein davar shebechova ba ela min achulin. A person's not supposed to fulfill his other obligations with something else which was obligatory. So when I have an obligation, I have to take money that's secular money and use it for the obligation. But I can't say, you know what, 10% is already put aside as Maaser Sheni. I have to go up to Yerushalayim. So I'll use the Maaser Sheni produce, put it into money, and use the money to go buy my Karban Toda in Yerushalayim that I have to bring. So I'll get two. I'll use money of Maaser to fulfill my obligation of the vow. Can't do that. No, that's one of the missions. You can't. You have a vow that has to be fulfilled with money that's not holy. You can't take money that anyway you had to give away, Ma'aser Sheni money, and now use it also for your Karban Toda. So again, the Mishnah says, Omer Arei Toda, a person who says on me is a Toda, now he has an obligation to bring a Toda. So Yavi, he has to bring the animal, V'lachman, it's bread, but he has to bring it not from Ma'aser Sheni, but from Chulin, Minachulin. Let's say a person says explicitly something about Ma'aser Sheni. He said, Toda alai Minachulin. The Toda is an obligation on me, a Toda is an obligation on me from Chulin. The Lachma Min HaMaiser, but the bread of the Toda I'm going to bring from Ma'aser Sheni. So again, it didn't work. Yavihi, once he says he has to bring a Toda, so now he has to bring a Toda with bread. So let him bring the Toda, the Lachma, the bread for the Toda, Min HaChulin, from things that are not holy. What about if he says the other way? Toda Min HaMaiser. On me is an obligation to bring a Toda from Ma'aser Sheni monies. The Lachma Min HaChulin, and the bread of the Toda is going to come from non-sacred money. So then, Yavi, he should bring, as he promised, the Toda from the Meiser and the bread from the Chulin. If he says explicitly, on me is an obligation to bring a Toda from Meiser, that's not called a Davar Shebechova. It's not called that there was an obligation on him and he's trying to fulfill his obligation with something that already had to be given away, with Meiser. The obligation is starting at this very moment. So it's starting with Meiser. That's okay. What happens if he says, I have to bring, me as an obligation to bring a Toda and it's bread min ha-Meiser. He vilachma min ha-Meiser. So again, since the obligation is starting in that way, Yavi, he brings the animal plus the bread from Meiser. And when he brings the bread, lo Yavi michite Meiser Sheni, he can't bring the bread from kernels of Meiser Sheni, ela mima'os Meiser Sheni, but from kernels where the holiness was taken off of them, put into money, and with money of Meiser Sheni goes up to Yerushalayim, and there he buys the bread. Says the Gemara, Amar Ravuna said, Omer harei alai lachmei toda, a person who says, on me is incumbent an obligation to bring breads of a toda. But he didn't say he's going to bring an animal. And he has to do both. Maybe toda v'lachma. He has to bring an animal plus the bread. My timer, why is that? Made the yadahai garva. This person certainly knows the lechem below toda lo ikrif. There's no such thing as bread of a toda without an animal. The whole thing is breads with animals. So once he says, I have to bring breads, that means he has to bring the animal too. Hi, really what he meant is toda v'lachma kam. I'm going to bring the toda plus its bread. Hi dekam lachme toda. And this that he said, breads of a toda, he mentioned just the end of it. So if milsanaka, he's just mentioning the end, but really he means to bring all of it. So it's therefore, since we know his intent was an animal with breads, therefore he has to bring an animal as well as breads, even though he only explicitly verbalized the word breads. That's the lesson of Rav Huna. Asks the Gemara, it's not in our Mishnah. If a person says, the toda, on me is an obligation of a toda min ha-Meiser, a toda from Meiser monies, the lachman, it's bread, min ha-Chulin, from non-Meiser monies, from Chulin. So Yavi Kamush and others. So since from the very beginning he's saying the toda is from Meiser, so he brings the animal from the Meiser, and he brings the breads from Chulin. 1 second, how could he divide it up? Once he says the bread is from Chulin, let's say the bread is always with a toda. So so now, once he said bread is from Chulin, it's basically saying bread and animal. That's the lesson. So let him bring both bread and the animal from Chulin. So Gemara says, no, Shani Asam, there it was different. Okay, since he started off by saying Toda min ha-Meiser, Toda from the Meiser, Nasa Ka'omer, it's as if he's saying, Arei alai lechem liftar todaso shoploni. I'm going to bring the bread on behalf of somebody else's karban toda. So therefore, when you say I'm bringing you bread for someone else's karban toda, it doesn't mean bread with an animal. So here too, he's that somebody else. He's got a strange toda from Meiser. So now when he says on me is bread, it just means bread. He said that the toda is from Meiser, but the bread is from Chulin. So that's like bread is like somebody else's bread for his Meiser, and therefore that's what he does. Asks the Gemara, Yachi, if that's the case, that we interpret vows based on the intent and not just based on what he actually says. Reisha Diktani. Look at the beginning of the Mishnah. beginning of the Mishnah, is a person who made a vow, Harei Olai Toda min Achulin. On me is an obligation to bring the Toda from Chulin, the Lachma min HaMaiser. And the bread of this Toda is going to come from the Maiser Sheni. So what did the Mishnah say? Yavihi v'lachma min Achulin. Both the animal and the breads have to come from Chulin. So why? Hachanan, we want to say the same thing. Nasa, let's consider it. Koma harei olai toda. On me is a toda obligation. Liftor lachmo shel ploni, to exempt somebody else's bread. And let's say that the toda, in fact, should be min Achulin, and the bread should be min HaMaiser. So the Gemara says, no, hachiyash, what's the comparison? Bishlama, the first time we wanted to say this approach, lechem lemifter todi asa. Bread is there to exempt the toda. Bread is there to accompany the toda, as we learned yesterday. But toda lemifter lechem yasa, can you say, I'm bringing the animal to exempt somebody else's bread? The bread follows the animal, not that the animal is following the bread. So again, Rav Huna's chiddush is that if a person says, a vow on me to bring bread of toda, it doesn't just mean bread, it means bread plus an animal. He has to bring both. Tashma, come to your proof against Rav Huna. We learned in a brisa. Homer, if a guy says, Harei olai toda below lechem, on me there's an obligation to bring a toda, an animal, without bread. Or he said, on me there's an obligation to bring a zevach, to bring an olo or a shlamim, below nesachim, without the wine, oil and flour that accompanies these animals. So what do? Kofanoso, we beat him up. Or maybe you told the vilachma. We tell him, no, a toad has to have bread. You bring the animal, plus you bring the bread. Zevachunasachim, you bring the animal, plus the libations. So taima, so what's the case of the brisa? Why is it this way? The Amar, he said, on me there is a toda. Avalo Amar toda. But if he wouldn't have said on me there's an obligation of a toda, if he would have just said on me there's an obligation of breads of toda, then he wouldn't have to bring bread and a toda. It seems to be against Rav Huna, because Rav Huna says if he says on me there's an obligation to bring breads, he has to bring breads plus an animal. And here it's saying if he said partially, he has to bring the whole thing. If he said the animal, and he didn't mention the bread, he has to bring the animal and the bread. But he didn't say the other case. If he says bread, he has to bring the bread and the animal. So Gemara says no. Who again? Really, the truth is, even if he wouldn't say toda, just if he would have said Harei olai lechem, he would still be obligated to bring the bread with the animal. But the reason why the Bryce didn't say that is because the Bryce wants to teach us the law of zevach below nesachim. If he said, I'm going to bring an olo or a shlamim without the libations, without the wine, without the oil, without the flour, where we know he is obligated to bring all those things, the lo masni le nesachim below zevach, there you can't say that he promised he's going to bring nesachim without a zevach. We would also force him. Because if a person says, I'm bringing the sachem without a zevach, that's it. You just bring it without a zevach. That's okay. So therefore, Tananami, therefore in the case of Toda, it was where he promised to bring a Toda without bread, and not the case where he promised bread without a Toda. But really, if he promises bread without a Toda, also he would have to bring both breads and the animal. Okay, again, the Brisa said, Ha'omer, if a person says, Harei olai Toda below lechem, on me there's an obligation of a Toda without bread, or a zevach without nesachim, then we force him to bring a toda with bread, and we force him to bring a zevach with nesachim. We force him to bring an animal with the wine. Asks the Gemara, but why is that so? Neder pischo imo. Why isn't it a vow? And right away, within a couple of seconds, he is reneging on the vow. And he's saying, I'm going to bring a zevach, but then he says, without nesachim. So that doesn't want to bring a zevach, because the definition of a zevach is an animal with wine. So he says, I'm bringing the animal, but not the wine. That means when he says but, he's saying, but I'm not bringing the animal. I don't want to bring the animal. So why isn't it just a retraction? Amar Chizkiya answered, Hamani, who's this brisa? Beis Shammai. This is the view of Beis Shammai. You say that when a person is speaking very ambivalently, this way and that way, Tzvos lashon rishon. We grab the first things he said. So once he said Harei olai toda, so that's it. He has to bring a toda with bread, and he can't change his mind. Where do we see this idea of Beis Shammai that a person can't retract what he's saying and change his mind? And we will grab the first thing that he says. It's we learned in the Mishnah. a person who says, Hareini Nazir min agrogros. I'm a Nazir from figs. I'm not going to have any figs. As I'm a Nazir in regards to that I'm not going to have figs. And it doesn't make sense. Because a Nazir is that he's not going to have grapes and wine. But he's saying, I'm a Nazir. Nazir really means to be detached. He's saying, I'm a Nazir, I'm detached from figs. Or from dried figs. So Beis Shammai, since he said, I'm a Nazir, he is a Nazir. And he can't have wine and grapes. Beis Hillel, no, ain't no Nazir. He said, I'm a Nazir, but then right away he says from figs. That doesn't make any sense. That's a retraction of being a Nazir. So Rabbi Yochanan said, Afilu tema Beis Hillel. You can even say that our brisa is like the view of Beis Hillel. But Omer, the case is where he says, I'm not trying to retract. He's saying, you see a diashe no drink cane. If I would have known that you can't do that, you can't have a toda without breads. Or you see no kach. I wouldn't have said a toda without bread. Elakach, I would have said I have to bring a toda and bread, but I thought I could do it the other way. So once he's saying, okay, you don't realize that that's the rules, so then certainly you're trying to bring a toda, so then it takes effect. You have to bring a toda and you have to bring it with bread. So the Gemara asks, so my kofin. So if that's the case, and he wanted to bring a toda, why are we forcing him? What do we have to force him about? The answer is that after he said that I was trying to bring a toda, but my own toda, now he says, you know what, really, let me change my mind. Now I don't want to do it. The kabbai hadarbe, he wants to change his mind. We say, listen, you can't change your mind. You have a vow, you have to fulfill your vow that beat him up to make him give the toda with the bread. All right, so again, the law of Chizkiah that we're discussing. Tashma, maybe the following is a proof to what Chizkiah said, that this brisa is only Beis Shammai. Because we learned, Ha'omer alai toda below lechem, a man who says, on me there's an incumbent obligation, a vow, to bring a toda without bread. Zevach, to bring an animal, l'shlamim below nesachim, without the wine. V'amru, so they say to him, okay, have a toda v'lachma. Now bring a toda with its bread. Zevach with nesachim. Ha'omer, and he says, Ilo yisi yodea shekain. Had I known that this is the case, that I'd now be stuck bringing the animal with the bread, lo yisi noda, I never would have made the vow. Kofano, so we beat him up. We say, listen, shmor v'shamata. You have to listen and observe all your words. You're stuck with it. So now, according to Chizkiah, who said that the brisa is a view of Beis Shammai, nichale. This brisa also works like Beis Shammai. Since he said Arei Alai Toda, he's stuck. He can't change his mind. El Rabbi Yochanan, who said that the case of the brisa was where he really wanted to do it, and he just didn't know he couldn't do it this way. So Kashas, now it's a problem. Here he's clearly trying to change his mind. Rabbi Yochanan, okay, Havada Beis Shammai. So this brisa is Beis Shammai, who holds that we take the first thing a person says, and he can't change his mind. Says the Gemara, we said that if he said, I want to bring a toda but without bread, we say, sorry, you have to do the toda with the bread because you have to listen to your words. My shomer v'shamata. What's the meaning of the brisa from this phrase? Keep and observe. Amar Abaye explained. Shmor, keep means have toda, means bring the toda. The shamata, and listen, have lachma, bring the bread with the toda, because that's what the sages tell you you're supposed to do. Rava said shamor. When they tell him keep, that means have toda v'lachma, bring the toda and its bread. Vishamata. Now listen up. Shlote ragulasos kain. Don't keep doing this in the future. Don't keep making this mistake. We learned in the Mishnah, a person who though promises to bring the toda and its bread from Meiser Sheni can do so. Toda he vilachma min a Meiser. Yavi can bring them both from Meiser Sheni. Asks the Gemara, Yavi, he has to bring it from Meiser. Lo sagi de lo Meisi. It wouldn't be right if he didn't bring it from Meiser. Could he bring it from Chulin? So if Nachman of Chiz explained, if he said, I'm going to bring a toda from Meiser, what he really means is, Ratza maybe, if I want to, I'll bring it from Meiser. And Lo Ratza, if he doesn't want to use the Meiser for it, that's okay. If he wants, Lo Yav, he doesn't have to bring it from Meiser. He can bring it from Chulin. Okay, Be'ezus Hashem, we'll continue from this point tomorrow. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashi Omer, Ratza Kadosh Baruch Hu lezakos Yisrael, Aficha chibra lehem Torah mitzvah shenemar, T'mei chafetz l'ma'at tzidko, Yagdil to Rav Yadir.
Amen.